Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a Machina edition. This audio podcast is part of a Quantix broadcast, and this audio podcast is part of a robotics biome. And this audio podcast is part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast, an overview in regard to relating to a research poster presentation within the remit of the Excellence in Paediatrics in 2012. This works looks at this research poster presentation, a collaborative research poster presentation between in around 2012, NHS Kidney Care, the RPSG, the Renal Patient Support Group, the RPSG, and amongst collaborators within academia within the United Kingdom. So this research poster presentation within the remit of the Excellence in Pediatrics in 2012 was or had been in regard was within the remit of within the remit of looking at how using social media can help raise CKD or chronic kidney disease awareness, and where this the research poster presentation, the collaborative works at the time, primarily looking at works works around the RPSG, the Renal Patient Support Group, the RPSG, in at and within the first 3 years of the RPSG being founded, within the first 3 years of the RPSG being founded, and thus the aims of this works of this research poster presentation was where the work sought to highlight how using social media has helped provide insight and awareness surrounding CKD or chronic kidney disease through the RPSG through the RPSG, and to provide an insight into how the RPSG has successfully allowed primarily through a social media platform being Facebook, albeit prospectively, the RPSG has extrapolated its use across varying forms of social media platforms, albeit however at the same time the RPSG being primarily on Facebook. So on Facebook as a social media on Facebook as a social media platform, the 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 poster presentation. This poster presentation sought to highlight insight into how the RPSG has successfully allowed a Facebook platform for communication and interaction for patients suffering with varying forms of CKD, chronic kidney disease, and general and sort of general Facebook and Blogspot, blog users, and also to highlight how peer support programs that are currently implemented in the NHS, in the National Health Trust, NHS Trust or National Health Service Trust, can improve social media. And the research poster presentation makes a sort of an elaboration on the use of Facebook being primarily sort of accessible to service users and service providers, and the objective, one of the sort of latter objectives of this research poster presentation was to highlight how RPSG has implemented aspects of research, sort of research aligned to important questions that healthcare service users have answers, where service users want answers to particular aspects around healthcare services, and so one of the latter objectives around this research poster presentation was to highlight how RPSG has successfully implemented sort of research, sort of basic research, if you like, utilizing a social media platform. So a little bit of background to this, research poster presentation. So the RPSG was initially introduced by two or three individuals, and sort of co-founded in around 2009. The initial intention of the RPSG founders was to help support fellow patients, CKD sufferers, sufferers, primarily following routine clinical appointments at one sort of major NHS trust in the southwest region of the United Kingdom. The RPSG founders knew at the time, in around 2009, that it would be a challenge to provide support to fellow patients through face-to-face to patients, to healthcare service users, to fellow healthcare service users, through sort of a face-to-face using a sort of face-to-face modality, in and as part of clinical and outpatient, and sort of following outpatient appointments, and within the clinical environment, owing to limited time, both limited time where patients or healthcare service users have with physicians or clinicians, but also wherein post sort of appointments, following sort of post appointments, where healthcare service users and patients have sort of had plans, have their own sort of plans and aspects of aspects of routine sort of following. And so having the internet, or the World Wide Web at the time, as a resource, the RPSG founders decided to explore an online platform, and Facebook at the time. Facebook at the time was sort of investigated. Was investigated initially in context of reflection and contemplation, but then through aspects of wherein the founders had some discussions, and before the discussions went on, before discussions went on, there was again sort of further aspects of reflection and contemplation, and it was in around October 2009, the RPSG was initiated sort of more formally and accordingly through Facebook. Before going on further, this is by no way means a sort of research works or a poster presentation that looks to prompt or encourage or promote the use of Facebook in any way in any way or by any means. However, at the time, in context of this works, the research poster presentation and the collaborative works looks to highlight some of the sort of conceptual the concept and conceptual work in around the RPSG accordingly. So since the RPSG allowed the founders or co-founders to interact with patients, healthcare service users from a local NHS National Health Service trust, utilizing the Facebook or social media platform, it attracted an appeal to healthcare service users and patients, in around in around and in following sort of appointments, sort of routine or scheduled appointments. And not only that, it appealed to patients, healthcare service users, but also amongst where patients where healthcare service users had for example wanted sort of or encouraged the basis to share aspects of the sort of inner aspects around the condition and the healthcare condition with and amongst sort of family members and friends, and wherein then there was a basis to see that that awareness around chronic kidney disease or CKD was prompted through the social media platform, and where everyone and wherein everyone one of the remits around the RPSG, still to this day has been where the social media platform allows everyone a sort of a opportunity to interact and ask questions and post messages and retrieve sort of instant responses. And it was the instant responses aspect that healthcare service users were finding at the time of the RPSG platform being initialized and initiated, very useful, very sort of helpful and useful in its early stages, and again to this day, in sort of over a decade on, the RPSG platform sort of continues to have that sort of ethos. The group and the social media platform now, at least sort of at the time, sorry, and when this research poster presentation was put forward within the remit of excellence in pediatrics in 2012. The RPSG at that time had around 900, just under 1,000 healthcare service users at varying stages of chronic kidney disease, and at the time also had 10 members to 10 members, 10 members as part of the admin and moderating team from the United Kingdom, a part of Europe, and in Australia, who gave their time and dedication in seeing that the platform well facilitated. The RPSG offered and continues to offer online sort of peer support globally, with members sharing and caring, and as a main sort of crux. And the RPSG is also and continues to be sort of a research active sort of social media platform, at least in context of nephrology and nephrology practices. So in the preliminary time, in part of the sort of preliminary basis around the RPSG, this research poster presentation also asked the question. So using social media, what was actually on the RPSG? So at the time, the RPSG social media platform had primarily been on two or three social media platforms. Two of the social media platforms being the main. And so the RPSG blog page, or the blog spot, had been the blogspot included sort of aspects of patients, also healthcare service users, highlighting important links on important websites, group pages and guidelines and standards, and relating to aspects of nephrology and nephrology practices, and sort of video links that may be of intrigue, academic and research papers that may also be of intrigue. And within the RPSG social media platform, there had been initiated a sort of a research folder, if you like, wherein different aspects of research had been contained, and there had been a voluntary there had also been a part of the social media platform, a part of the social media platform, a voluntary patient activity opportunities, in context of highlighted opportunities in and across varying NHS trusts, wherein there have been opportunities for patients and carers to get involved in, and not restricted to the NHS trust within the southwest region of the United Kingdom. And then at the same time, there had been a list of KPAs, KPA being an acronym for Kidney Patient Associations, and related groups and pages. There have also been sort of images and photographs of various social social events, and wherein within the Facebook aspect or social media platform, the folders, the photographs have been contained in photo folders, which only those who were members within the social media platform could access. And so and so only those with who had been sort of members of the RPSG platform could access the different sort of photographs or images within the social media platform. And there had been also a folder in regard to a folder in within the social media platform in regard to event posters and flyers, for example. And more, the RPSG sort of has sort of over sort of a decade on, sort of a decade after a sort of a decade on, sort of still continues that's the same sort of the same sort of basis or ethos in this context, so thus to protect the confidentiality and privacy, and the security of those who utilize the social media platform. And within the blog, within the RPSG blog page is in context of sort of a secondary social media platform that had been utilized in sort of early conceptions, conceptual work around the RPSG. This had been a had been a social media platform where a sort of different postings again linked to sort of research opportunities where patients and patients and carers and healthcare service providers could get involved in, and in sort of the more sort of prospective years around the blog spot, or so a blog social media platform. It had primarily been focused on sort of a journal, the sort of journal aspects around varying sort of updates around the RPSG platform, sort of more generally, and linked to sort of collaborative works. And then as part of a link to this sort of research poster presentation, within the research poster presentation, there had been a little bit of an overview in regard to the early media, the sort of early media attention that the RPSG had been sort of linked to, and the research poster presentation highlights sort of quite sort of primitively, if you like, that the RPSG had been involved in a World Kidney Day and renal health awareness, sort of in around a renal health awareness, a sort of effort in around 2011, a World Kidney Day and a organ donation effort, or at least an awareness in around through sort of where one of the founders had been involved in an interview with a radio within a radio sort of interview with a physician, asking some questions in context of kidney care and nephrology in around World Kidney Day. A World Kidney Day in 2011, and also sort of where the RPSG had also been involved in a World Kidney Day sort of collaborative World Kidney Day event between a collaboration between the RPSG, the Renal Patient Support Group, and a local KPA, being the Bristol, a local KPA within the southwest region of the United Kingdom, being the Bristol Area Kidney Patient Association. And this was again in around 2012, and was a collaborative effort in aligned to a World Kidney Day sort of bowling event, and a sort of coffee morning, which sought to highlight some activities between two organizations, organizations and platform, and also to highlight the ways CKD sort of research and awareness could be advanced. And then within the research sort of poster presentation, there have been works, a sort of an overview in regard to sort of research and some of the projects that had taken place, and between sort of the early sort of years, one of the early years, between 2011 and 2012, and so for World Kidney Day 2012, the RPSG hosted a series of e-sessions, or sort of online sessions on how using social media can raise CKD awareness in collaboration with NHS at that time, NHS Kidney Care, and the RPSG also helped coordinate a small project with an electronic patient record organization, being Renal Patient View, now known as now referred to as Patient View, in regard to service aspects of service evaluation, and then there was a works around where the RPSG had also conducted various surveys to collect data, some primitive data, if you like, which had been used in regard to feedback and to sort of enhance aspects of healthcare service and practice. And in an RPSG survey in regard to so the research poster presentation, listeners, does have some primitive data, but has some schematics or schematics and sort of graphical data, which sort of depicts some of the findings around specific and particular questions around kidney care. And so in an RPSG survey on what do you find most useful about the RPSG, data established that at least 36 members are 36% of members, 36% of members at the time of the RPSG found that it's interesting to know that they are not alone they are not alone in around the the disease or the condition. And the survey also highlighted that utilizing the RPSG, around 27% found that communicating with fellow patients and interacting has been beneficial or advantageous. In another RPSG survey at the time, and again this is works between 2011 and 2012, another survey, RPSG survey, asking what's the worst thing about being a renal patient. Data had established that at least 31% members or supporters of RPSG found that they are afraid of or have been afraid of sort of having afraid of and having sort of psychological concerns, yeah, sort of prospectively or about the future. Data also highlighted that being a renal patient is something you have to entail for the rest of your life, and wherein the data around this was around just over 20%, just over 20%, around 23%. A survey was also implemented to understand what processes and strategies people adapt to cope with CKD or chronic kidney disease. And this survey highlighted that learning and having a sort of a sense of humor were sort of the main ways that people with CKD sort of cope with illness, and where the data highlighted or informed at least around 22% of members who completed the survey, or the survey, or poll based works around this. And the RPSG at the time again, where this data had been have been co-developed and sort of initiated. The RPSG had been a sort of a young group, yeah, and it had been encouraging to find that sort of members which consisted of those from varying ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds, and from around the world or globally. It was encouraging to find that around 12%. And bear in mind, listeners, that at the time of this works, or this research poster presentation for the Excellence in Pediatrics in 2012, the RPSG had just under a thousand members, and around 12% of the time, 12% at that time identified that the RPSG is a positive way for people to cope. And since the RPSG allows a platform for interaction and communication, retrieving detailed insight on kidney aspects of kidney care for a greater number, as well, a great number of people. Where at that time, in between 2011, or between 2000 and 2009 up to 2012, or just before, the RPSD had just under a thousand healthcare service users, sort of healthcare users using sort of on and through the social media platform. Another RPSG survey on it was on social was or surrounded a question on, can social media, and not just Facebook, for example, help raise CKD awareness or chronic kidney disease awareness. And data informed that around 89%, so almost 90% of members found that social media social media generally can help raise CKD awareness. So it was in following sort of more sort of robustly, that the RPSG blogspot was was sort of developed further by the RPSG team, and where the RPSG where the where the where at the time between 2011 and 2012, the RPSG also utilized a Skype as a platform to host the or online sessions on different topics relating or in regarding to chronic kidney disease, or CKD, accordingly. The research poster presentation highlights again some graphical data, and the main questions, again, where graphical data is presented is links to what you in regard to questions regard to what you find most helpful about utilizing the RPSG. What's the worst thing about being a renal patient, according to those who suffer with CKD and those who suffer with CKD, and a question in regard to what processes and strategies do patients, CKD users, healthcare service users adapt to cope, and can social media, not just Facebook, help raise chronic kidney disease awareness? And then the research poster presentation goes into what makes the RPSG a success. And again, this is a research poster presentation which highlights some of some of the sort of underpinnings in its initial sort of duration. And so within the research presentation, in context of what makes the RPSG a success, Facebook, being a social media, allows a good general platform for people to interact. 10 members to the admin team at that time, who all bring specific expertise, allowing sort of a good sense of moderating, monitoring, of moderating and administering. The RPSG at the time as well, it had been an open group, and it was shortly after, although this research presentation did not highlight the data, but shortly after this research works, or this research poster presentation at least, there was an effort to ask the question amongst the members at the time, or ask those who were utilizing the RPSG as a social media platform, would they prefer that the RPSG stays as an open group, or would they prefer it as a closed group? And there is data in on this, in some prospective in some aspects of prospective works. The RPSG and sort of Facebook as a social media platform sort of generally appeals to all audiences. The RPSG have raised CKD issues and awareness linked to varying CKD, chronic kidney disease stages and severity. The RPSG organizes and is involved in research and collaborations to understand different aspects of disease, and where research is concerned, the effort the works, one of the aspects one of the aspects that have made the RPSG sort of a success in its early sort of times, had been the fact that the RPSG did not restrict, or was not restrictive on sort of a preference in regard to sort of collaborations, and where collaborations have linked to works around quantitative and qualitative sort of research aspects in around identifying ways to bridge those sort of inequalities and disparities aligned to varying forms of CKD. And the RPSG, again, in its early time, had hosted online sort of educational sessions through Skype. One of the collaborations in this was through NHS kidney care at the time, and where there was collaborations between patients and healthcare professionals. The RPSG organized social activities by creating by initiating, a sort of events and advertising on Facebook, through the events pages that the social media platform on Facebook had as part of its sort of general platform. And then there have been works in around where the RPSG blog page had been formed primarily for non-Facebook users, since there had been healthcare service providers who got to know about the RPSG platform, but have been restrained, have felt restrained or reluctant to utilize utilize number one Facebook, and also utilize number one Facebook as a social media platform, but also secondly, sort of utilizing social media sort of more generally in context of supporting patient healthcare service users, through that online modality. And also, at the time, the blog spot, or the blog page had been utilized by the RPSG to provide updates in regard to information around aspects of practices, but also aligned to varying aspects around kidney or nephrology practices. And then the RPSG platform, or another sort of response in this research poster presentation in regard to what makes the RPSG a success. The RPSG users had shared real life experiences in real time from across the globe, across the world, and this also allows members to learn about CKD care from various parts of the world. So where different where, for example, two or three healthcare service users may have the same condition or aspect of illness around CKD. However, between the different parts of the world, different practices may well be utilized. May well be utilized, and so the RPSG, being a sort of a global platform, a social media platform, had allowed healthcare service users to sort of share sort of lived understanding around sort of the specifics of healthcare illness, but also learn in around the different practices, and where different practices are sort of learned about or shared, then healthcare service users have sort of had that opportunity to, having had the sort of having had the sort of learned or lived experience in around different in around particular aspects of practice. The healthcare service users have that opportunity to share that with and amongst their healthcare service providers in and within the clinical environment sort of in following. So the RPSG encourages patients to interact, or healthcare service users to interact, and does not restrict is not restricted to to sort of the lived experience or shared experiences through the social media platform, but also where patients or healthcare service users sort to interact with the experiences that are shared, and also aligned to local and sort of broader kidney patient associations or KPAs, and to sort of find out how can be sort of proactive in the care for those who are sort of who are renal who are renal sufferers. And the RPSG at the same time the had did and had and had at the time also developed varying works linked to support aspects around primary healthcare services and secondary care health services. And so the presentation then goes into in, uh, goes into highlighting some aspects of the ongoing work. And again, this was works in that have been highlighted in this research poster presentation from 2012. So the RPSG at the time had put forward had put forward uh, uh, um, um, the idea of a sort of a picnic or a fun day for healthcare service users to uh, to uh, to uh, sort of get him to sort of get involved in. Had also put forward sort of the idea a basis in around a sponsored walk, and also in around at the time at the time and since sort of prospectively in around around the around an effort of around organ donation or aspects around donation and transplantation, in following a sort of a launch of a sort of a national a sort of a it was National Kidney Federation, or NKF, black and minority ethnic or black and a minority ethnic groups, a manifesto in regard to a manifesto around organ donation and transplantation around 2012. There had been a launch around a manifesto within Parliament in the UK Parliament in around 2012. And so the one of the lead investigators in the RPSG within the RPSG had been involved in had been involved had been involved in sort of prospectively had with colleagues and collaborators had developed peer reviewed and published works around an effort in around an effort in highlighting and raising sort of awareness. And there also within the research poster presentation a point around where there had been an effort between where the RPSG had linked an awareness in around health in around where healthcare service users should all have access to to uh, their electronic patient records as part of an initiative that took place in around the same time. And also one of the aspects in this research poster presentation is where the where it had been highlighted that the RPSG sought uh, has sought to collect more understanding and data to in around the more advanced topics surrounding CKD. And so finally, some conclusions as part of this research poster presentation. So, as a non-funded non-funded social media platform, at 3 years post initiation, the RPSG had allowed has allowed the admin and sort of research team, the RPSG admin and research team, to sort of raise CKD awareness and using social media using social media sort of successfully. This had been achieved primarily again through the through the Facebook through the Facebook social media platform and sort of social media platform and then in and then sort of some sort of in synchronicity with synchronicity and subsequently with the use of the blogger or blogspot, and then Skype and sort of Skype to initiate online e-sessions, online or e-sessions where topics are pulled together and hosted by, or had been hosted by a member from the RPSG research team. The RPSG has successfully allowed a platform for interaction and communication, also gaining insight from hard to reach populations and distributing and the distribute and the and distributing the information on in around CKD or chronic kidney disease to sort of general Facebook users, as general social media platform users, and web peer support programs within varying NHS trusts or National Health Service Trust for CKD, chronic kidney disease, and end-stage renal disease, also known as end-stage kidney disease, ESRD or ESKD, patients have been piloted and fully implemented. They should also consider NHS Trust should also consider implementing social media platforms to allow sort of shared caring and learning. The research is has been a sort of has been a sort of an important essence, if you like, in around the RPSG. The RPSG is and had been the only renal Facebook social media platform that sought to collect data or research data and publish information for the healthcare service users, and the RPSG sort of generally encourage or had encouraged researchers and investigators to get involved for potential collaborations. That draws this audio podcast to a close. On social media, as part of this particular audio podcast, there will be some references that link to this particular research poster presentation, works around the actual work in regard to the research poster presentations themselves. Research presentations themselves can only be accessed through the RPSG platform, and so this audio podcast, amongst other audio podcasts in this series, was sought to just sort of highlight sort of an overview of these of the research of the the sort of fundamental aspects around the research works that have taken place through research poster presentations. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast as part of a Machina edition. This audio podcast as part of a Quantix broadcast. This audio podcast as part of a Labostics biome, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Labostics production.